So last time on my guitar review, I reviewed the difference between a stetsbar and a duesenberg, which are two tremolo systems. And so what I've done since then is I actually tried out a Floyd Rose FRX, which is this thing you see here, and I tried out a bigsby, and I installed all four of those tremolos into a Gibson SG just to try out how it feels and all that kind of stuff. So today what I want to do is I want to review mainly the FRX, but I want to talk to you about also the bigsby versus the duesenberg versus the stetsbar, and I want to kind of give you my overall conclusion as to all four of them. So this is basically the duesenberg. You don't really have to adjust any action or the bridge on this one. And then this is the stetsbar. Notice it comes with its own bridge, so you probably have to adjust the intonation on that one. So this is the bigsby that's on one of the SGs. Notice that you don't have to adjust the intonation on this one because it uses the existing bridge. And then on this other one, it's basically like an FRX, like a Floyd Rose, so you will have to adjust the intonation on this one. The Floyd Rose dives a little bit deeper than the bigsby. I think it's meant more for people that really like to have that extra octave going all the way down, and the tuning stays also a little bit better. And I think for the bigsby, it's made more for people that are a little bit more finesse with their tremolo. There is kind of a drawback to the bigsby because it doesn't have a locking nut or anything like that, so it's kind of hard to keep in tune. Notice also the pricing. So when I bought the bigsby with the plates. Basically, I did not want to modify my guitar at all. So the bigsby, the stetsbar, and the duesenberg are all made so that you don't have to modify your Gibson. That is, you don't have to make holes or anything like that. However, the FRX, you are going to have to drill holes into your guitar. And so that was kind of scary, but to me, personally, I took the shot because I think the FRX is worth it depending on the type of style that you play, and to me, I definitely thought it was worth it. Okay, so let's talk about the FRX. Unfortunately, by the time I made this video, I no longer had the bigsby on my other SG, and let me kind of show you what that looks like. So I actually took out the bigsby from this guitar and I sold it. The biggest problem with the bigsby on this guitar is the fact that on Gibsons you have three tuning pegs on each side, so the G and the D string would constantly go out of tune on my bigsby. And I also think one of the reasons for that is because I failed to adjust the intonation a lot. Adjusting the intonation is super important whenever you get any of these tremolos because it's gonna affect the tuning a lot. And also, I noticed on the bigsby, whenever I would, one of the problems with the tremolo systems that use the original or existing bridge of the guitar is these guitars are not built to have a tremolo in them, especially if they come with a hardtail. So when you dive, like for example on the duesenberg or on the bigsby, when you dive, the bridge actually kind of bends a little bit back and forth. I wish I could show you, but I don't have it right now. But the bridge actually kind of goes back and forth, so depending on where you end up, even if you adjust the intonation will still be off a little bit because of the fact that the bridge either moved up or down a little bit. And notice, like, if I show you the side view, there's just like a tiny screw there that's holding the bridge in place. I mean, it's not tiny, but it's small enough to where it adjusts back and forth. So as far as that goes, I would recommend either the stetsbar or the FRX if you don't want to have that issue. But that's mainly if you do like really big, deep, exaggerated dives. But if you're just kind of like pedaling or just doing the soft tremolo, I don't see that being an issue. Although if you do get a stetsbar, I would recommend you watch the previous video that I posted because there is some issues that I had on that where the strings would get unwound because of the bridge, because the bridge moves on ball bearings, but that's another issue. So earlier I said that if you get the FRX, you're gonna have to make holes on your guitar, and that's true. You're gonna have to make holes on the guitar. The only holes you're gonna have to make on the guitar is these two screws and this top screw that holds the locking nut in place. If you decide to put the FRX onto a Gibson SG, it is very important that you remember, or that you know, that the screws that come with the FRX are way too big. So luckily I measured them and I realized that if I would have put the original screws, it would have gone through the whole, through the guitar head all the way to the back. So it's also great because it's actually not that hard to tune as somebody might think. Okay, so one of the things about the FRX that's a little bit challenging is the fact that you have to set it up when you first get it, and you have to adjust the intonation using Allen wrench, and you have to adjust each single one of these parts. Anyways, let's go back to this. So one of the things I love about the FRX is that once you set it up, it's set for good. It actually does not take you that long to change the strings and to change the tuning. I know there's a lot of videos out there that talk about how intimidating it is to change the strings on a Floyd Rose. It's actually not that challenging on this one. I just did it probably about 30 minutes ago. It took me maybe like 15-20 minutes to do it. And that's because I already know, kind of like I have my own routine of how to change them and everything. But it definitely does not take me like an hour or 2 days or anything like that. And it's nice. Unlike the other one where I said that it would go out of tune because my strings would get stuck here, because the divide here creates friction on a duesenberg and a stetsbar and a bigsby. On an FRX it doesn't because the nut's locked, right? So you don't have to worry about tuning or anything like that. The only type of tuning that you're going to do is going to be here on the bridge area. You're going to tune these pegs, and that's going to create your tuning. So let me finish up by talking about this, showing you this option and kind of going over a recap. I know this review was kind of a little bit sloppy, but I didn't really have a lot of time to do it, and I really wanted to do it because I think it's important to show you all the 3 different variations. But I think if you're looking for something just to have a tremolo system on a guitar that looks good, I would definitely just go for the duesenberg because it's cheaper. It's under $100. Um, you're probably gonna have to get it from Europe though, because I haven't seen a lot of U.S. vendors carry it. Um, if you want something that looks aesthetically pleasing and looks more classic, more high end, something that a lot of people know, I would go with the Bigsby. But for the duesenberg or the bigsby, they're both for kind of just like slight tremolo use, nothing very significant. If you're trying to go for something a little bit more significant, like bigger use, I would probably stay away from the stetsbar a little bit. Well, it depends. So the stetsbar and the Floyd Rose kind of have like, I don't want to say a similar comparison because the Floyd Rose definitely dives better, but if you're going for more intense diving, I would use the stetsbar, maybe get a graphite nut with it. But if you're really, really kind of dedicated to that kind of tremolo, I would honestly just probably go for the Floyd Rose. It's kind of a little bit cheaper, and it provides you with a better tremolo than the stetsbar just because of the fact that it has a locking nut, and the stetsbar is kind of like this in between the Bigsby and the Floyd Rose. It's kind of the crappy thing of both worlds. The only good, in my opinion, one of the only good things about it is the fact that the bridge moves with the system. But other than that, you're gonna have issues with strings being unwound, and maybe with your nut, the strings getting stuck to the nut. So basically, what I'm saying is either do the FRX on the high end or duesenberg on the low end. And if you want to go with aesthetics, go with the Bigsby. Otherwise, I would stay away from the stetsbar.